Weidman's hail and welcome to Namibia. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about an emotive subject for many of us, and that's the subject of hunting ethics. As you can see, I've just returned from a hunt, a successful springbok hunt, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. What I really wanted to talk to you about today, and I suppose by way of an explanation, tell you something about my personal belief and those of the guys that I work with over here. It's a difficult thing to try and explain to a non-hunter what hunting is all about. And in the big scheme of things, it generally falls into two camps. In England, where I come from, I hunt for food. I hunt for the table, and I cull deer. That's what I do. We have a problem with some of our deer species that they have no natural predators, and an overpopulation is not good for us, and it's certainly not good for them. Somebody has to keep them in check, and I guess that's where people like me come in. I deal with deer, I deal with foxes, I deal with rabbit, I deal with lots of things, but the reality is the majority of what I do is food for the table. So too in Namibia, and across Africa generally. We hunt for a variety of reasons. One of the first reasons that man hunts is for food, for the table. And irrespective of the kind of hunting that you've come to Namibia for, the reality is that nothing's going to be wasted. Everything is eaten. And I do mean absolutely everything. You may be shooting for trophies, or you may be shooting for the table. The reality is it's all eaten. As they say about a pig, everything's eaten on a pig right down to the grunt. Well, so it is here too. And if you shoot yourself an antelope species, yeah, certainly there's some fine fur, some fine horns, but the reality is there's some good eating too. So hunting for the table represents about half of what goes on over here. But in addition to that, there are those people who come over here trophy hunting. And that's the ethical side of things that people sometimes don't really understand. And again, these fall into two different categories. There's people who hunt within game farms, and there are also people who like to come out and hunt wild, free-roaming game on the conservation areas and the areas set aside for their natural beauty and for hunting. In that case, when you go out and you're looking for your quarry, it isn't a gore fest or some kind of killing spree. That's just really not what it's about at all. Let me just explain to you how life works over here. Animal species generally tend to keep themselves separate. You have male herds and you have female herds, and they come together, well, as we all do, for the most appropriate thing. However, the male of the species, that's what we target as trophy hunters. And the male of the species, well, hey, look at me. Do I look like I'm in my prime? Well, maybe I am. But give it another 20 years and I'm going to start to be a bit older in the tooth. Give it another 20 years again and I'll be dodging coffins. The simple reality is that we all have our time. Some of us think, well, a natural death. We would aspire to a natural death. Let me just tell you what a natural death in Africa is. This is tough country. A country that Namibia is semi-desert, which means that water is an issue over here. When the rains don't come, the grass doesn't grow. The grass doesn't grow. A natural death over here is death by starvation. That's if you live long enough not to be eaten alive by jackals, leopard, lion, cheetah, hyena. Recently I've been following a pack of hyena across one of the neighbouring farms here. You have to see for yourself the devastation that hyena do. And in the big scheme of things, what would I prefer? To hear a distant gunshot, the crack, look down and think, what was that? And then run for maybe 50, 60 yards and be dead? Or would I prefer to be eaten alive by a pack of hyena? You know, it's no contest really, I've got to tell you that. If that's a natural death, then really, you know, I have to say a hunter's bullet, a well-placed hunter's bullet, is a quicker, cleaner way to go. So what is it we target? Do we target everything? Absolutely not. We don't shoot the female of the species, we don't shoot the young, we don't even shoot the young males. We do for food, but as I mentioned before, that's a different kind of hunting. So if you're a trophy hunter, the kind of animals that we're going to put you on are going to be the animals which have been there and done it. They're going to have the marks, features and scars of life. They will have been prime breeding stock for an extended period of time, and they'll be coming to the end of their days. And what happens over here survival of the fittest. When you get towards the end of your days over here, the rest of the herd will force you out. You may have been king of the hill, you may have been head of the herd, but when your time has come and you're no longer contributing to the bloodstock and the breeding cycle, the other males, they'll fight for control, they'll fight for leadership, and the old males, well, they get forced out from the herd. Over here the animals work in, and live in herds for a simple reason. United we stand, and you know, there's strength in numbers. Strength against those predators that I mentioned earlier on. So in the big scheme of things, if you're an aged bull antelope and you've been forced out from the herd, that means that you're going to be living a solitary lifestyle, and you're going to be at the whim of the natural predators around here. It's a lonely lifestyle, and I tell you, that means that their time is pretty much come. They may be too old to forage for themselves, they may be too old to basically look after themselves. And these are the trophy animals, the trophy bulls that we look to shoot. Okay, in the big scheme of things, you know, I also realise that some of you guys, you're going to want a decent hat rack to put on your wall when you get home. And hey, me too, yeah? So that's where the hunting farms come in. We have farms over here that are so large you wouldn't believe it. It isn't like farming in Europe. These farms are enormous. We're talking 3,000–4,000 hectares. Completely enclosed, admittedly, but with no internal fences. And within that area, the game species are looked after, they're nurtured, they're protected. So that when you come, you're going to see animals in their prime, in their natural environment. It's still a stalk. You still have to pursue them, I have to tell you. This isn't easy. This isn't a gimme. You guys come over here and you want to come and shoot something in a game farm, I tell you, it's just as hard. I spent a long time yesterday in a game farm with some guys in pursuit of zebra. I tell you, man, zebra hunting is not for wimps. It really, really isn't. This is in mountainous country, at altitude, in the heat. So you're still in for a big hunting adventure. It's just that the trophy species that you get and take home with you at the end of the day is going to perhaps be in a slightly better condition than something that's been out living the natural lifestyle in a herd on the open plains.